Hello guys, welcome to a new video of Fischer's series. Today we're round number 7 of the Curaçao Candidates of 962. It's Fischer against Paul Keres, and this is a brilliant Ruy Lopez in which Keres doesn't make any obvious mistakes, but still Fischer outplays him beautifully. So let's actually see what happens. Fischer has the white pieces and he starts with e4. e5 by Keres, knight f3, knight c6 and bishop to b5, the Ruy Lopez or the Spanish opening. Here a6, more of defense, bishop a4, knight to f6, this is all theory. Castles by Fischer. Here it branches out, we can take the pawn and go into the open Spanish, or play bishop e7, that's what Keres plays, and go into the closed Spanish. Now rook e1, defending the pawn, b5, still theory, bishop b3, d6, opening up the light squared bishop, c3, making way for our bishop and preparing d4, castles, and now h3 first, so the light squared bishop cannot pin the knight to the queen. What now? Knight a5, bishop c2 and c5. And now Fischer strikes in the center with d4. And in this position, Keres plays a novelty. And a novelty is basically a move which hasn't been played before, till now. Keres here plays knight to d7. And Fischer actually annotated this game in his 60 memorable games, in which we have comments from both players. And Keres here says, now it is not easy to find a satisfactory continuation for white. But Fischer responds, Keres' novelty has since become quite popular. I was and still am unimpressed. Black loses time redeveloping his knight to b6, but his king side is weakened by the absence of the knight, and it's questionable whether the knight is not better where it stands originally. So now d takes c5, not taking with the knight, then you're getting forked. So here logically taking back with the pawn. And now Fischer simply continues his Ruy Lopez plans, rotating the knight to the king side, knight b to d2, queen c7, knight to f1. Now knight b6, and the knight jumps into e3. Now it's looking towards some central squares. Rook d8, controlling the d file, queen has to move. And here you have to understand that after this game, the Soviet players analyzed together and they just couldn't find where Keres made a mistake. Well, according to the engine now, we can understand that bishop e6 is a little inaccuracy. Since, well, it looks like a natural move, just controlling some light squares on the board, connecting the rooks here. How can this be a little inaccuracy? Well, here, Fischer wants to open up both of his bishop looking towards your king. And he can do that by playing knight to d5. Well, here Keres took the knight, and here you could already ask yourself, what was the purpose of rotating the knight to the queen side to then give it away? Didn't we lose some tempo moves? Well, that could be a question. Here after pawn takes, bishop takes, Keres is up a pawn, but we take back the central pawn. It's equal material again. And at the end we have two bishops looking beautifully towards your king side. Now, the threat is also, for example, if you play a slow move like knight c6, knight takes, queen takes, and you lose a piece here. So we have to defend the 7th rank. Keres plays rook to a7 here, which is not a pretty move you want to make, but it's useful here to defend the bishop. What now? Bishop f4, looking towards the queen. Here the threat for Fischer is to play knight to g6, defending the bishop, looking at the queen, and then taking the bishop with check, which is defended by the queen and the rook. Keres sees that, he plays queen to b6, a good move, and now the last piece into the game, rook a to d1. Here Keres does understand the position very well. He plays the best move g6. Well, why is g6 the best move here? For example, if you bring the knight back into the game to b7, for example, then we have rook takes d5. And after rook takes d5, we have queen to e4, looking towards the rook and also looking towards the h7 pawn. If you bring the rook back, for example, all the way back, then you're actually getting mated. And if not, then you can lose the rook here. So g6 is a very useful move here. Also, for example, knight to c6 doesn't work. Again, you can sacrifice, but even prettier here is queen h5, g6. The knight is blocking the queen to the defense of the king side. And now knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, and queen takes with check. And now rook to e5 simply wins. So, okay, Keres saw that, he plays g6, the best move. Now knight to g4, since after playing g6, you did weaken the dark squares around the king. So we bring our knight to g4, look towards h6, we make way for our queen, and you can see some threats here on the dark squares. Now the knight goes to c4, which might not be the best move. We can simply push it away with b3. And here, okay, you could take the pawn, but what are you gaining? After taking the pawn, simply b3 blocks the bishop, and now the bishop is out of the game. So knight c4, bishop h6, controlling some dark squares here, and the threat here is coming to the back rank, since you only have one defender of the back rank here. Now bishop e6, and a very beautiful move, bishop b3, pinning the knight to the bishop, since the knight was also defending this critical e5 square, and the queen would like to come to the e5 square and deliver checkmate. So now logically, Keres plays queen b8, controlling the e5 square, but that's a mistake again, because now we have rook takes d8, and here Keres doesn't want to take with the queen, because then we don't control the e5 square. He takes with the bishop. But now Fischer turns his spatial advantage into a materialistic one. He takes the knight, and after a pawn takes, he takes the pawn with the queen. You cannot take the queen, since then you're basically getting mated on the back rank. So now Fischer just up a pawn. And okay, you could take back a pawn, but then we have rook takes e6, and if you take it back, you're actually getting mated again. So Keres cannot take the b2 pawn here. He plays queen to d6, defending some dark squares at the back rank. Now, the threat is to take the queen. Queen goes to a4, still threatening coming in here. Queen goes to e7. And here, knight f6 check. A beautiful move by Fischer. Again, you cannot take the knight. You're getting back rank mated here. So now, only one move. King has to go to h8. And now knight to d5. Again, you cannot take the knight, then your queen is getting lost. So now queen goes to d7, hoping to exchange the queens, but obviously Fischer's not interested. Queen goes to e4. Well, how is that possible? Are we not attacking the knight twice? Well, if you take the knight again, you're getting back rank mated here. So you're actually not threatening winning the knight at all. Even after this is still back rank checkmate. So now, after queen to e4, again Fischer focuses on the dark squares. His threat is coming into e5, delivering mate. So the queen goes to d6, defending the e5 square. Now knight f4, attacking the bishop 3 times. Here rook to e7. But rook to e7 would actually lose in one move. If Fischer found this move, he didn't play it, but simply bishop f8. I'm sure Keres would resign on the spot and this would be a beautiful ending, but still, Fischer played bishop g5, one of the best moves. Rook has to move. And now bishop takes, rook takes, and now Fischer's like, well, I'm up a pawn. Why not grab another pawn? After knight takes, queen takes, pawn takes, and rook takes, Fischer's simply up 2 pawns, and this is a completely winning endgame. Keres continues a bit with rook to d1 check, king comes up, rook to d2, okay, we are threatening winning back a pawn, we want to defend those queenside pawns, rook takes, but now rook to b7, Fischer's up a pawn, the king is basically trapped on the 8th rank here, and after rook to f6, the king comes up to g3, and now Keres had enough, he resigns the game, and Fischer wins this beautiful Ruy Lopez. I really hope you liked this video. If so, please like, subscribe or comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.